The strange letter that the witch had entrusted Maria with had wiped all memories of dinner from our minds. Maria had been repeatedly barraged with questions by Auntie Rosa and the other parents, and was now in the worst of tempers because no one would believe her. Even when we kids tried to talk to her, she would just ignore us. Our parents were all stirred up over the gold, firing back and forth about the distribution of the assets, and completely forgetting that we children were even there. Even though I already figured that they had been talking about this in the shadows, I never thought they'd be this blunt about it, and at least to us kids, it was a considerable shock. From what we could overhear, all of our parents wanted as much money as possible, as soon as possible. Back and forth about grandfather's inheritance. Back and forth about the distribution of the gold if it was found. About advance payments and cash. It was so despicable. I couldn't bear to watch, even though one of them was my dad. It looked like Jessica felt the same way. We left our seats, although no one had asked us to leave, and went to hang out somewhere apart from the parents.
なるほどな。じいさまが飯の席にも顔を出したくない理由がよーくわかったよ。うちの親たちにはすっかり幻滅だぜ。金だの遺産だの。よくもまああそこまで大っぴらに。
俺の場合はクソ親父に幻滅しきってるからよ。これ以上評価の下がりようがないぜ。
そんなの私だって同じだぜ。しかし今夜のには呆れたぜ。心底呆れたぜ。
Jessica looked down at the floor, irritated. She was always talking about how bad her parents were, but maybe she hadn't really felt that way deep inside. I could realize that from the depths of Jessica's shock.
未成年の君たちはご両親に養育してもらってるからわからないだろうけど、お金を得るというのは単純な綺麗事じゃないよ。未成年である今にそれを理解しろとは言わない。でもご両親なりに何かの努力をしていることだけは認めてあげてほしいな。
やれやれ。ジョージの兄貴は人間ができてるぜ。
ジョージ兄さんは社会人になってバリバリ働いてるけどよ。金とか財産とかそういう話になったら、うちの親父たちみたいにこういうむき出しのハゲタカになれるってのかよ。
自分だけの話だったらそんなことはしたくないよ。でも家族や社員、部下やその家族の生活を背負ったら戦わなければならない時もあるかもしれない。
私はそんな戦い嫌だぜ。小さまの遺産がどうのこうのなんて話、ヘドが出るぜ。
Jessica pretended to spit violently. That harsh reaction made the depths of her pain very clear.
もうこの話はやめようぜ。じいさまの隠し黄金がどうのこうの、財産だ遺産だって話は親たちの問題で俺たちの問題じゃないさ。
僕も同感だよ。せめて気を利かせて親たちの話し合いを邪魔しないのが子供の務めだと思うね。
なんだか面白くねえぜ。
Everyone knows the phrase, adults are filthy. But we had now seen that for ourselves, and that really did give us a shock. George Nikki was now pretty much an adult, and I had already been disillusioned with my dad in the first place, so the shock wasn't that big for us. But it looked like it was different for Jessica. It looked like the shock that Jessica had received was even bigger than I had thought. This girl, she was always talking badly about her parents, but it looked like she hadn't changed at all on the inside since long ago. Even now, she was still a pure-hearted and delicate person who couldn't doubt others. I'm sure she respected her parents as much as anyone else does. And then, her parents started joining in with all the other parents, right in front of us children. Going, money, money, inheritance, inheritance, my money! So, it was no surprise that the shock of hearing that was so big.
ジェシカちゃん、どうかお父さんとお母さんのことを嫌いにならないで。理解しろとまでは言わないから、せめてどうか嫌いにならないであげて。
分かってるよ。少し放っておいてくれよ。
6 years ago, I would have further taunted the dejected Jessica. But even I have grown up over the past 6 years. I realized that it would be better to leave Jessica as she was right now. Jessica suddenly looked away sulkily and left the parlor. She probably wanted to be left alone for now. I could do nothing but wordlessly watch her back as she left.
そういえば、マリアちゃんはどこに行ったんだろう。
Please don't tell me she went back to find her rose.
多分まだ肖像画の前でいじけてるんだろうぜ。
Maria, who truly looked up to witches, had expected that coming in direct contact with Beatrice and receiving the letter as proof would be an event that would surprise everyone and make them happy. However, the adults had doubted its authenticity and had not taken Maria's story at face value, and had thoroughly bombarded her with questions. Even I didn't find it hard to imagine how much that must have hurt Maria. We couldn't speak to either Maria or Jessica. In the end, George and Nikki and I just abandoned ourselves to the sound of the falling rain in the dark night.
台風はどんな感じなんだろうね。ニュースをやってないかな。
George and Nikki walked over to the corner of the parlor where the television was. He hadn't called me over, and I really couldn't have cared less where the typhoon was on the sea right now. So I didn't go over to the television, but instead loitered around the window.
そんなに風は出てなさそうだけど、海の上はひどいのかしらね。天気予報では暴風警報も聞いてたんだけど。
I thought you'd be with the adults talking about the money. Huh.
キリエさんか。大人たちの積もる話はどんな感じなんすか？
It looked like she caught the sarcasm. Kyrie-san shrugged.
この胃の痛くなる話は徹夜で続くのかしら。嫌になるわ。
まあ、せいぜいよろしく。じい様の財産分配についてハゲタカごっこをお楽しみくださいってんだ。最低の気分だぜ。
それに関しては同感よ。バトラ君みたいに席が外せるなら私もそうしたいわ。
Okay, I'm really liking Kyrie now. I'm really liking Kyrie.
でもそうもいかない。たとえ発言権がなくてもね。パートナーも大変よ。
Kyrie-san sighed, smiling bitterly. Well, yeah. They probably won't let Kyrie-san, who married into the family, speak. Still, as Dad's partner, she has no choice but to stay by his side and support him. Being in the line of fire, she must be having to bear far greater mental pressure than me. I wasn't going to apologize, but realizing that I had spoken too harshly, I cut the sarcasm for the time being.
どんな感じなんすか？相変わらず謎の魔女ベアトリーチェの話題で持ちきりですか？
まあね。あの人たちはおじい様が亡くなった時の遺産分配について兄弟4人で話をまとめようとずっと密約を重ねてきた。そこへ未知の5人目が現れて話をややこしくしようっていうんだから穏便な話なわけもないわ。互いを罵り合ったりかと思えば共闘しようってことになったり。夏日姉さんでなくても頭痛がしてくるところよ。
On one hand, they all wanted a larger portion than the other siblings, so they were all rivals. But on the other hand, they didn't want one yen to be snatched up by anyone other than the siblings, so they were all also allies. I couldn't get her to tell me the details, but they were apparently arguing on and on about their ceasefire agreement and rules to prevent anyone from getting ahead. The situations under which their portions would be protected, and what legal measures would be taken in a worst-case scenario. By this point, my emotions had shot straight past disgust, and I now perceive them as a force to be reckoned with.
ってことは差し詰め。ベアトリーチェはじい様からの資格ってとこですかね。自分抜きで遺産の分配なんて話を勝手に進めてた息子たちに一泡吹かせたかったんだろうぜ。
何者かしらね、ベアトリーチェって。
It's very convenient that the wind picked up as soon as you said that.
自称してることが全て本当なら今日まで誰にも知られずにいた謎の人物で、しかもおじい様の隠し黄金の存在を知っていて、その上当主の指輪まで委ねられている。相当に信頼された人物ね。
She's definitely a mistress. Come on, she's probably a mistress. Ever since part 6, I've been saying that Beatrice might be Grandpa's mistress.
さすがにほうきにまたがった魔女だとは思わないっすけど、でも魔女と呼ぶに値する怪人物であることは間違いないっすね。
マリアちゃんがそのあたりのことを詳しく話してくれればいいのだけど、みんな小さい子にがっつきすぎだわ。すっかり怯えてしまって聞けるものも聞けなくなってしまった。あの人たち北風と太陽とか読んだことないのかしら。
The North Wind and the Sun. I don't know what that book is. Is it a book? Yeah, it's a book. You read The North Wind and the Sun. What she just said read. I might have to check that out. The North Wind and the Sun.
確かなのはマリアがベアトリーチェと名乗る人物から手紙を受け取ったこと。自分で現れて直接話せばいいものを手紙を託して今もどこかに身を潜めているっていうシャイな怪人物ですけどね。
Or sneaky.
ねえバトラ君、ベアトリーチェなんて人物が本当にいると思う？
さあ、あくまでも偽名じゃないっすかね。じい様の代理人としてその妄想の中の魔女の名を名乗ることを許されたとか。
そうじゃなくて、
Stupefaction.
今この六軒島には全部で18人いるの。19人目が存在すると思う？
Oh, this is already sounding good. Are there really a whole 18 people on this island? Wondering about that, I began counting on my fingers, and it really did come out to 18 people.
19人目が存在すると思うって。どういう意味ですか？
言葉通りの意味よ。マリアちゃんに傘を貸した人物は私たち18人の中にはいないらしい。なら19人目がいて、その人物がマリアちゃんに傘を貸したと思うのが妥当じゃない？
まあ、そうなりますね。
ならその人物は今どこにいるの？少なくとも雨が降り出した瞬間には島にいた。そしてその後はどんどん天気は悪化して、とても船なんか出せない状態となれば、その人物はまだ島の中にいて、どこかで雨宿りをしていなくてはならない。私たち誰の目にも触れずね。
確かに俺たちは屋敷やゲストハウスの中を勝手にうろつき回ってましたが、誰も19人目なんかには会ってないわけですよね。でもまあこれだけの広さのある島ですし、屋敷やゲストハウス以外に雨宿りできるところだってあるのかも。
At about this time, I began to realize what direction Kyrie-san's doubts were taking us in. Kyrie-san was denying that a 19th person existed. Beatrice was one of us 18. In other words, she thought that someone we knew well was using her name.
ベアトリーチェが自称する通りなら、その人物は間違いなく最高の賓客よ。おじい様が信頼する最高の腹心。そんな人物をおじい様が歓待しないわけがない。お屋敷に迎え入れないわけはないのよ。でも私たちは誰も見ていない。
待ってくださいよ。それはちょいと性急な推理じゃないですか？確かに誰の目にも触れてはいないけれど、だからって19人目を否定することにはならないんじゃないですか？何かの理由があってこっそり上陸してずっと隠れているのかも。悪魔の証明ってやつっすよ。いることを証明するのはたやすい。ベアトリーチェってやつが俺たちの前に現れて挨拶すりゃ解決する。でも19人目がいないことを証明するのは不可能っすよ。
バトラ君の推理の仕方は悪くないわ。現在の状況では19人目の存在を認めるにも否定するにも情報が足りない。でもね、チェス盤をひっくり返して考えると、ほぼ19人目はありえないって断言できちゃうのよ。
Flip over the chessboard was one of Kyrie-san's favorite phrases. I had also been influenced by those words, and used them myself from time to time. When you get stuck trying to find a move in chess or shogi, by flipping the board over and looking at everything from your opponent's standpoint, you can often see a strategy that would give you the upper hand. Derived from this, it means to think by putting yourself in your opponent's shoes.
いい？仮に19人目の人物としてベアトリーチェが実在したとして、その人物は誰にも知られることなくこっそりとこの島に上陸し、ずっと隠れていた。何かの理由があってね。ならどうしてわざわざ姿を現してマリアちゃんに手紙を渡したの？
It really was a contradiction. If they had some reason for hiding themselves, then they should have stayed hidden the whole time. but they had appeared openly in front of Maria.
それはほらマリアも言ってた。メッセンジャーにされたって言ってたじゃないですか。マリアが一番年下で素直そうだったからじゃ。
メッセンジャーなんて必要なの？手紙を親族会議の席上に送りたかったら郵送すればいいだけの話よ。
Okay, so I'm just gonna say this now. I am really liking Kyrie. Because she seems like one of the only adult characters that has some, sense. Though, of course, I haven't seen too much of the other, parents, but let's be honest here. They're not really that, smart with their money. A lot of the parents are. They're not smart with investing their money. So far, Kyrie is the smartest one. Maybe it's because she doesn't have that much money and, she only married into the money. So maybe that's why she's a little bit better than the others. Because the rest, they were all born into money.
4人の兄弟全員に郵送すれば黙殺することもできない。
Like, okay, I kind of understand what they're going for this scene. Like, they're trying to, make people think that, oh yeah, there's definitely a mythical witch coming in. Though, I'm having doubts. I'm having some doubts that this is, actually a real witch coming in. I'm having doubts that this is a real witch. Is Genji wearing a wig?
手紙を持参してこっそり手渡す理由がないのよ。
確かになんだかおかしな話っすね。
そもそもベアトリーチェが存在していてその存在をアピールしたいならみんなの前に堂々と姿を現せばいいだけの話なのに現れずマリアちゃんという小さな子を通しておぼろげな輪郭だけでその存在を主張しようとする曖昧さ矛盾もっと考えてマリアちゃんの前に姿を現し19人目の存在を印象づけるという点とにもかかわらず今この瞬間も私たちの前に姿を現さず隠れ続けている点これらの矛盾これを念頭に置いた上でチェス盤をひっくり返すのつまり19人目の人物としてベアトリーチェがいると印象づけたい人物の目論見は何かよ
姿を隠したい人物ならその存在をアピールするわけがない。そして姿を現したい人物なら手紙を託すなんて遠回しをするわけがないってことは
簡単よベアトリーチェは18人の中にいるのよだからこそ18人以外の人物が存在するような幻想を作り出しているのよこれ見よがしな19人目のアピールそれで得をするのは姿を潜めた19人目じゃないすでにいる18人の方なのよもちろんこの推理は穴だらけいくつかの前提がひっくり返るだけですぐに崩れる脆いものだけど私はほぼ間違いないと見てるわ
This was quickly starting to sound pretty creepy. Who had lent Maria the umbrella and handed her the letter? All the 18 people had been ruled out. And yet, Beatrice was hidden amongst those 18. What was that person planning? Hiding their true form and pretending to be Beatrice?
マリアちゃんの自作自演も疑ったんだけど文章の内容が非常に手が込んでてマリアちゃんが自前で用意したとは考えがたいでもマリアちゃんが何者かと共謀している可能性も否定できないわ
Well, if that's the case, that means Rosa is Beatrice. That could make sense, though.
おいおい マリアは9歳のお子様だぜ。誰と何を共謀するってんだよ。しかも愚直で真面目で素直なあの性分だぜ。
ええ、私もマリアちゃんの性分はよく理解しているわ。でもだからこそありえると思うの。魔女に憧れ、その存在を盲信している夢見がちな少女。そこにベアトリーチェと名乗る人物が現れて魔女だと名乗ったら、彼女はそれを大喜びで鵜呑みにして信じるんじゃないかしら。
つまりあの肖像画のごついドレスを着て変装すればマリアを騙すことは難しくないと。
その論法になっちゃうと、私たち女性陣はみんな疑われちゃうことになるんだけどね。とにかくマリアちゃんが何者に出会ったのか、それの詳細を聞くことがこの謎を解く一番にして最も身近な鍵なのよ。しかしその鍵は少女の心の奥に堅くなに閉ざされてしまったわ。みんなが頭ごなしに魔女の存在を否定し、一体その人物は誰なのかと問い詰めすぎた。マリアちゃんは当分大人には心を開かないでしょうね。
In the dim hall, in front of the portrait of Beatrice, Maria was sobbing.
to とにかく鍵はマリアちゃんが握ってるわ。ベアトリーチェが18人の中にいるのか19人目なのか、それを知る鍵をね。
One second, I'm gonna turn off my fan in here because I thought it was gonna get hotter outside. It's getting it's not getting any hotter. What's the temperature outside? It's fucking, oh god, I turned on a fan when it's 72 outside. God damn it.
マリアは頑固だぜ。あいつへそを曲げるとなかなか機嫌を直さないからな。
大人の私より子供のバトラ君の方が機嫌を直せる確率は高そうよ。彼女の機嫌が直ったら聞いてみて。遺産分配がどうのこうのって話には関心ないけど、こんな王道洋館ミステリーみたいなシチュエーションにはワクワクしちゃわない？マリアちゃんに手紙を渡した人物は一体誰なのか。知的好奇心がうずくわ。
うんざりするような金の話に付き合わされてもワクワクとは実にタフなことだぜ。大人はすげえや。
Well, she's into the mystery behind, who talked with Maria and gave her that letter more than, the money right now, I bet. I think the money's, thought in her mind, but I think she's mostly just thinking about the mystery behind, the whole strangeness of this case. I shrugged, exasperated. But I had realized she had noticed the dejection I was feeling because I had overheard our parents' turbulent discussion and was probably trying to turn my mood around. She had at least managed to make me feel good enough to hurl abuse. She wasn't my real mother, so I never felt like calling her mom. What if she actually is your real mom? No. Well, could she? Wait, let me read Rudolph's, character sheet real quick. Oh, no, okay, I gotta see Kyrie's and Rudolph's character sheets. Okay, so he did marry Asumu right after his first wife died, but that gives no indication that he knew Kyrie before Battler was born. What about Kyrie's? They had been business partners for a considerable length of time before the passing of his first wife. Wait. I am making a baseless theory. I mean, she could be Battler's mom, but I don't think that's the case. Am I actually right? No, I don't think I'm right. Don't say if I'm right in the comments. Am I actually? No, Is my joke truthful? I'm actually legitimately concerned that my joke is actually what is going on. They had been business partners for a considerable length of time, and he married Kyrie right after his last wife died. That could give key details to say that Battler's mom might be Kyrie, not Asumu. But wait, Battler just knows Asumu as his mom, but, Rudolph and Kyrie could be, not telling him the truth because he was married to, Asumu, and, Kyrie was just, a mistress. Wow. Rudolph, you're very similar to your dad, if that's the case. I don't think, no, that's not, I'm gonna, until there's any more key details regarding, my stupid joke, I'm gonna say that Kyrie is not Battler's mom. Though, I do have a sinking feeling that Kyrie could be the real mother of Battler. I don't know. This is just a theory of mine. I don't know if I'm just, barking up the wrong tree because most of my theories are probably gonna be wrong, and this is probably gonna be one of the theories that is wrong. She wasn't my real mother, so I never felt like calling her mom. But it did make me think she's a real adult. Oh shit. Hi! Hi, Rudolph! I totally wasn't talking about, your possible secret that you're hiding from Battler. God, okay, you scare me, Rudolph.
キリエも長え化粧直しじゃねえか。俺も次からは化粧をしてくることにするぜ。
ごめんなさい。女の化粧は長いのよ。どう？兄弟水入らずの話し合いは。
さぞや和気あいあいとしてるだろうよ。
Kyrie-san poked the weak spot under my arm with her elbow.
一度頭を冷やそうってことで小休止さ。こりゃ夜通しになりそうだぜ。泣けてくれ。
His way of talking hadn't changed, but he couldn't completely hide his fatigue. I couldn't say I was sympathetic, but he looked pitiful compared to his normal, energetic self.
しかしひでえ雨だな。ゲストハウスに戻るのも嫌になるぜ。夏日姉さんが屋敷で泊まれるよう準備してくれたらしい。どうする
？3階になった時に考えてもいいんじゃない？部屋に戻る体力もなくなってたら、その時はお世話になりましょうよ。
そうだな。その時に考えりゃいいか。バトラーはどうする？
俺がいちゃお邪魔だろうからよ。気使って向こうに戻るぜ。
そうか。すぐ戻るのか。
さあな。一人で戻ったって寂しいしよ。 子供全員で揃って帰ることにするぜ。
そうだな。そうするといい。それでバトラー、お前今夜はそうは簡単には寝ないだろう。
多分いとこたちとおしゃべりしてるだろうからな。夜更かししそうな気配はあるぜ。それがどうかしたのかよ。
そうか。もし大人たちの会議が終わってお前がまだ起きてたら、ちょいと家族でしたい話があるんだ。
なんだよ、柄にもねえな。
Oh. Okay, that's a little bit interesting. Oh, wait, is Rudolf gonna, tell Kyrie and Battler what he had been doing in the States to get him in trouble? Oh, he might be confessing. Apparently, Kyrie-san was thinking the same thing. What are you talking about? She asked him in a small voice. It looked like Kyrie-san didn't have a clue what Dad was talking about either.
キリエにも聞いてもらいたい話だ。後で話すから今は聞くな。
I'm sorry. He's either gonna talk to them about about how he got in trouble in the States, or he's gonna confess something. What are you gonna confess, Rudolph? What are you gonna confess? Are you gonna confess what you did in the States, or what you did with... This is gonna be a running joke. I can bet you now, for all 8 episodes, this is gonna be a running joke. Well, okay, come on! Come on! When you think about it, it could make sense. It could make sense. Rudolph, after his first wife died, went and married Kyrie, his longtime business partner, and... Alright. They had been business partners for a considerable length of time before the passing of his first wife. So, Asumu died when Battler was like 12. So, what do they consider a considerable length of time? That could mean like decades, like that. There at least has to be like, maybe 10 years for a considerable length of time to be considered that. So, if it's more than a decade, in that time, it could make sense that these two had a little bit of an affair and had Battler, but instead of telling Battler that his mom is actually his father's mistress, they went ahead and lied to him. It makes sense, but I don't know if that's true. It would make sense, though. But no, I think he's going to confess what he did with the Americans. I don't think there's anyone who ignores their family as much as this old bastard. And this was the guy that was asking us to have a talk as a family? Both Kyrie-san and I couldn't help but get wide-eyed.
そうビビった顔すんなよ。ビビりてえのは俺の方なんだ。何しろ。
At that point, he swallowed his words for an instant. I don't remember Dad being the kind of person to artificially drum up suspense.
気持ち悪いぜ親父。今家族は全員揃ってるじゃねえかよ。もったいぶらずに言えよ。
No! Oh. Okay, no, I thought it was gonna come off to the next scene. Okay, I'm sorry.
今夜殺されるだろうな。
Oh shit. Oh. Oh. I was actually not expecting you to say that. I was not expecting you to say that, Rudolf. There was a huge crash of thunder. It must have been really close. Dad's expression, brightly illuminated by the lightning, was burned into my eyes. Dad's face, which always looked so sure of itself, and which always wore a taunting expression, was, for some reason that I couldn't explain, strangely frail. It was so worn out that he looked like a different person.
何言ってんだよ、ガルでもね。
同感よ。どうしたの？急に弱気ね。
There's one thing I do have to say about Rudolf, though. I feel like he cares about these two enough to warn them ahead of time that he has suspicions that he might be killed. I'm gonna point this out now. Yeah, he might have cheated on his first wife, but I think he does genuinely care about Balor and Kyrie. I think he actually genuinely cares, so maybe he's not that bad of a guy. Though, come on, dude, you cheated on your wife. I'm gonna hold that slightly against you, but I'll ease off my thoughts about you, because at least you're coming right out stating, yeah, I'm gonna give you both a heads up. I might die tonight. So I'm gonna give you some props. I'm gonna give you some props for at least, giving your family a heads up of what's probably gonna happen. Congratulations, Rudolph. You're not that bad of a guy.
あなたらしくもない。
俺も化粧直しに行ってくる。ついてくんなよ。
Dad turned away, weakly. After that, only Kyrie-san and I were left, still wide-eyed.
なんだってんだ？今夜殺される？まさか、あの妙な手紙のせいで、親父ビビっちまったのか？連続殺人者の映画の見過ぎだぜ。
Okay, the mouth that Balor is making kind of disturbs me. Oh. Kyrie-san didn't answer my light-hearted words, and continued to stare at my dad's disappearing back.
バトラ君はルドルフさんに今話せと言ったら話さず立ち去った。みんなに話すことがあると言い出しながら答えなかった。どうして？チェス盤をひっくり返す。すると
話すと言っておきながら話せない矛盾。なんすかね。親父側から見ると何か見えてきますか？
ええ、見えるわよ。
He's going to confess what he did with the Americans.
話したいことがある。
He's trying to confess what he did with the Americans. Though he might be killed, though.
でも自分から言い出す勇気がない。
Well, at least he cares about his image, like his image to his family.
だから追ってきて俺に話しかけて聞き出してくれが正解ね。ついてくるなも逆の意味よ。ついてきて俺を問い詰めてくれが正解。まったく甘えん坊さんなんだから。
いや、そういう推理でいいんすか？そんなんめちゃくちゃな。
名探偵や名刑事が男女の気持ちや心を推理できる？できないでしょ？異性の気持ちを探るのは何次元のトリックを暴くよりはるかに高度な技術なのよ。私に言わせれば名作推理小説より恋愛小説の方がよっぽど難解なミステリーなんだから。
Wow. I mean, I don't know if kind of agree, actually.
そういうもんすかね。
No, I like mystery a lot more than romance. Let's get that through.
私はあの甘えん坊さんと一緒にいるわ。普段は虚勢を張ってるけど、今夜はかなりの激論で疲れ切ってる。誰かに寄りかかりたい気持ちなんでしょうね。それに応えるのがパートナーの役目よ。
はあ。そりゃあお熱いことで。じゃあ、うちのクソ親父の世話をよろしく頼みますよ。
ええ、任せておいて。
Is Kyrie also gonna die because he wasn't lying, and what he meant by it, you know, what he meant by don't follow me is don't follow me or you might be killed too. As Kyrie-san departed, I called out to her.
え？何？
いや、ありがとよって。おかげで陰鬱な気分がだいぶ晴れたぜ。
ならよかった。コミュニケーションは大事ね。
After answering with a wink, Kyrie-san followed after Dad. Natsuhi could be found in the dimly lit hallway. Now and then, the thunder would crash, but this had no effect on Natsuhi's expression. Her expression was completely worn out. The discussion that had just taken place between the relatives in the dining hall was repeating itself inside Natsuhi's mind. At death's door, Beatrice had proclaimed that in addition to the gold, the headship and all of the assets of the Ushiromiya family would be given to the person who could solve the riddle. In other words, she planned to undermine the absolute guarantee that Krauss, as the oldest brother, had to succeed the family head. Originally, the other siblings had absolutely no chance to succeed the head. To them, this proposal by Beatrice was extremely desirable. It was obvious that they would accept Beatrice's proposal. Even without playing clumsy detective games, she knew that this so-called 19th person, Beatrice, couldn't exist. This was a message employing a fictional character called Beatrice as a messenger. It may as well have been written in Kinzo's own handwriting. The proof that Kinzo remained suddenly neutral as to that letter's authenticity. He was completely ignoring these reckless claims that he shouldn't be able to ignore, that he had given up the head's ring. In short, Kinzo had wordlessly admitted that the letter held his own message. Most likely, one of the servants had given Maria the letter. Kinzo had probably worked out an elaborate plan where the dress from the portrait would be prepared. And someone, probably Shannon, would be made to wear it and deliver the letter and the umbrella. By doing that, he could make it seem like the witch from the portrait actually existed. No, if anything, that is why you could be certain that Kinzo was behind all this. In that case, if it was just as if Kinzo had butted in on the siblings' private discussion, and by announcing that he would give everything to the person who could solve the riddle, Kinzo had weakened Klaus's overwhelming advantage. Now it was certain. Kinzo had listened in on the siblings' discussion in the parlor earlier that day. Why did I think that this... You know? The servants, yeah, even though I want to believe that they're saying the truth, they could be in on this plan. Now that I think about it, they could be in on this plan because Kinzo pays their paychecks, and their furniture, so they can't say no. So he had known how Krauss had stayed off the attack by the other three. And to make the scales of the battle go back into balance, he had sent out this strange letter which benefited the other three. Ava and Rudolf had dragged Rosa in, who had a weak position among the siblings because of her age. And they were trying once again to overwhelm Krauss 3-on-1 and push through their crazy reasoning. And so, they had resumed what had been once a nearly decided conflict, and were repeatedly pressing Krauss to pay them a large amount of money. Talk about the advance payment, which had been denied once already, was being brought up again under the terms that all the siblings would guarantee Krauss the succession to the family head. Of course, even without the story about the hidden gold, the Ushiromiya family's store of wealth was vast. Just that store was worth more than enough by itself. Even if the hidden gold was buried forever along with Kinzo's death, there would be more than enough to satisfy. Therefore, even if they had no interest in the gold itself, there would be the lifelong fear that, on the off chance that someone found the gold, that person would be guaranteed the position of family head. And this kind of Achilles heel would definitely be taken advantage of by someone sooner or later. The only person with this fatal weakness was the successor to the head, Krauss. The other siblings had found. No, they had been told by Kinzo about something that only Krauss could lose, and they had thoroughly taken advantage of that. Natsuhi, as Krauss's only ally in his painful position, and his wife, had believed she was fighting alongside him. She kept trying to point out to him that the existence of the gold itself was a farce, and that there was no need for him to compromise. Krauss had always told Natsuhi. He had told all the siblings. He had always said that the hidden gold was nothing more than a fiction created by Kinzo. Therefore, Natsuhi had believed that as his wife, and on that foundation that had supported her husband. Yet, her words would not reach him. Even though she was fighting so hard and lending all of her strength, he continued to fight by himself and was trying to compromise with the other three siblings. Wondering why she could not be of use to him, Natsuhi felt sorrow, shame, and then anger. It had happened when everyone decided to take a short break to cool off their heads. Natsuhi had flared up against Krauss. In rage, she had asked why she could not be useful to him. He had told her that he wanted to talk about something, and had invited her into one of his private rooms, which she was normally not allowed to enter. That room had been sealed with a heavy-looking padlock, and just looking at it had given her an uncomfortable feeling. He was looking for the gold the whole time.
他の3人の言うことも、ベアトリーチェを名乗る不審人物の言うことも、何も気にかけることはありません。
The room is full of maps because he's been trying to find the gold, isn't he?
黄金など所詮はお父様が生み出したまやかし。それを見つけられることなどあるわけがない。あなたが跡継ぎであることは盤石です。何を恐れることがあるのです。
Krauss removed the padlock on the door. He then motioned for Natsuhi to enter.
入りたまえ。
何ですか？
見せたいものがある。君に初めて見せるものだ。
Natsuhi timidly opened the door with a dubious expression on her face. was pitch black. She searched for a switch to turn on the lights, but since this was her first time in the room, she didn't know where it was. Krauss entered behind her, pushing her in, and closed the door before making any attempt to turn on the lights. The two were swallowed up by the darkness. Only the sound of Krauss locking the door rang out through the dark.
これは何事ですか？明かりは？
今つける。待ちたまえ。
True to his word, Krauss had pushed a switch on the wall, and a flickering light turned on and lit up the room.
それは。
Natsuhi had her breath taken away. The room had no windows, and at a glance, it appeared to be empty. In the middle of the room, a small, round table had been set. And the lights brightened only that table, as if it were the leading part in a play. Laid out on top of the table was a red tablecloth of elaborate design, covered with dust. And on top of that, something about the size of a grown man's arm had been set down. That something took Natsuhi's breath away. Which in gold, Symbolo. Holy shit. I was not expecting it to be a gold ingot.
こいつがなければ誰も黄金伝説を信じはしなかった。
It was an ingot of solid gold. Even in the faint light, it sparkled with a noble and dignified gold glint. Holy
こいつ
shit.
はまともなインゴットじゃない。このインゴットを鋳造したのが国内なのか国外なのか、それすらも私にはわからないんだ。
It takes a high level of skill to make the purest of solid gold ingots. And in order to verify that purity, it is standard to have the original foundry and the name of the bank that guaranteed it to be imprinted on the gold. However, this ingot did not have that kind of seal. This mysterious gold bar had come from an unknown foundry.
ここを見たまえ。怯えることはない。こいつはただの金塊だ。
Natsuhi, following Krauss's words, timidly approached the ingot.
そこだ。
Krauss pointed at the surface of the ingot. Natsuhi concentrated on that section. The wing. Right there was the thin imprint of the one-winged eagle crest. Natsuhi's breath was taken away once again.
そうだよ。これこそが親父がベアトリーチェに与えられたといい、保証人のマルソーの会長に任意で一つを抜き取らせて持ち帰らせ、財界のフィッツァーたちを信用させたという伝説のインゴットなのだよ。方々に手を尽くして私が見つけた。他の兄弟たちより早くね。
そんな。じゃあ、お父様の黄金伝説は
Is true.
実在する。後宮金蔵が授けられたベアトリーチェの黄金は実在するのだよ。
そんな。本当にあるなんて。
Natsuhi was shocked. Krauss had always said that Kinzo's gold was just a fabrication. So, she had believed it as his wife. However, the reality was different. He had held definite proof, and had been more certain than any of the other siblings that the legend of the gold was true. Because of this, Krauss was deeply frightened at the possibility that someone other than himself would find the gold that he had failed to find, costing him everything. But to Natsuhi, this truth was more than enough to split open her heart. She had thought that, as Krauss's wife, she should be his closest confidant, which was why she had been selflessly supporting him. And yet, he had hidden this fact from her until today. Why?
そこまでに私はあなたの信頼に足りないというのですか？
そういうつもりはない。話す必要がなかっただけだ。
You fucking found the proof behind your father's gold! And you didn't think there was a need to mention to your fucking wife that you found the proof of your family's gold that can decide your future, headship of the family? And, your future wealth and all that? You thought there was no need to mention that to the person that you married. And of course, if Natsuhi wasn't that trustworthy, well, maybe I can understand where Krauss is coming from. But Natsuhi has been following you and trusting you for all of her married life with you, Krauss. So, Krauss, what the fuck? You kind of are being a poop head. You're being a poop head right now. You're being a poop head.
あなたにとっては妻はその程度のものなのですか？
落ち着きたまえ。劇場にすぐ駆られるのは君の悪い癖だ。
あなたがそうさせてるんじゃないですか？私は後宮家に嫁ぎ、今日まであなたの妻として仕えてきました。あなたのために生まれた家を捨て、身も心も捧げてお仕えしてきました。その報いがこれなんですか？そんなことって。
Krauss grimaced, looking annoyed. His expression effectively communicated how much he disliked this part of Natsuhi.
私はもうあなたの力になれそうもありません。
うん、それでいい。兄弟のトラブルを私が自分の力で解決する。君の力は借りんよ。
You really are a poop head. And you have a tiny head. You have a tiny poop head.
違います。これは後宮家のトラブルです。確かに私にはこの身に家紋を刻むことが許されていません。でもあなたの妻です。なのに私には力添えする資格もないのですか？あなた。
君を思えばこそあえて関わらせなかったのだ。これ以上は頭痛に障るだろう。君は今夜はこれで休みたまえ。兄弟の話は兄弟でつける。君は関係ない。それだけだ。
A dull headache tormented Natsuhi. No matter what medicine she took, no matter what scent she burned, it wouldn't heal. On the other hand, standing here alone in a dimly lit corridor, her head filled with the sound of the rain, she felt like the pain had softened a little. Fortitude. I may have been Natsuhi, but I was not Ushiromiya Natsuhi. Denigrated has been a sorry excuse for a wife. Verbally abused for not even being able to take care of that. Even so, I tried to properly perform the duties of a wife, but have been rejected even by my husband. I did my best raising my daughter, as though it was the last job left to me. However, my anger and sadness, having no place to go, caused me to subconsciously strain that relationship too. Because I have been excessively strict in Jessica's education, I am thoroughly disliked by her. Jessica despises me for not being interested in anything but grades. There's no longer anything I can do for the Ushiromiya family. No, that's no good. Even so, I must help my husband dislodge the schemes of the other greedy siblings. The head won't be around much longer. Eventually, Krauss will succeed the head, and the next successor will be Jessica. Strictly speaking, the man who enters the family by marrying Jessica will become the next head, but it all comes to the same thing. I have to make Jessica an excellent successor who everyone will accept as worthy to take over the Ushiromiya family. In the years to come, that greedy Ushiromiya Eva will surely be continually plotting to find some fault with the main family. So that if it all goes as she plans, Jessica will be dragged down from the succession, with George in her place. It is regrettable, but George is a man, and even more, has matured as a person. If you compare him to Jessica, who is right in the middle of her rebellious period and whose grades are below average, you can see at a glance who is more fit to succeed ahead. So, in order to secure Jessica's position, I need to turn her into an excellent person. After doing that, I want to find her an excellent husband worthy of the excellent person she will become. A wonderful man who will truly accept Jessica and stay with her through all of life's joys and sorrows. Was that Natsuhi trying to entrust her daughter with fulfilling some desire of her own? Natsuhi thought back to the days when she had no choice but to marry into the Ushiromiya family because of that unavoidable fate. She had tried to block that from her memory. She had consciously forgotten that and had actively attended to the life she had been giving as Ushiromiya Natsuhi. And this was the new life she had built. But it felt like, just now, all of that had been casually rejected.
何を考えて生きていけばいいのかわからない。
Natsuhi helplessly rested her head against the glass of the window. The glass, cooled by the raindrops beating against it, was somehow refreshing. And even though it had no emotions, right then, it seemed to be the only thing that could understand Natsuhi. Even if someone showed up there and saw her like this, Natsuhi had no intention of caring in the least. But she found herself caring. Because it was her beloved daughter. Steady pace.
母さんか。なんだよ、こんなところに。幽霊かと思ったぜ。
Just like always, her words were rough, and not at all like a girl's. Instinctively, words of rebuke rose to Natsuhi's throat. However, they did so only weakly, and so she was able to prevent them from escaping her lips.
ジェシカ、ごめんね。母さんは頭痛がひどいの。そっとしといてくれる？
Okay, so I do feel bad for Natsuhi, like her point of view, that her whole situation kind of sucks, but I am gonna have to point out, it's not her place to choose what life her daughter has, even though she wants the best for her daughter. It's her daughter's choice to choose how she wants to live, not her own. Like, Natsuhi, I'm gonna admit this, she's not that bad of a person, but some of the things that she's thinking about doing, it's not okay. It's just, yeah, some of the stuff she thinks are not okay, but overall, she's actually not that bad of a person. It's just that she got put in a horrible, horrible situation, especially when her husband Krauss is a poop head.
そう。
Jessica was more than slightly disconcerted by this first ever slight of feebleness from her mother. Until just now, she had been filled with contempt for all of the parents, including her mother. But now, not the slightest bit of that remained. That feeling remained. All of it had been wiped out by her mother's completely exhausted face. In its place, the words that George had told her floated back up in her mind. The parents are doing their best in their own way. They are supporting their family, so they can't afford to keep everything pleasant and have a heavy responsibility to fight. Couldn't her mother have been standing around in this dimly lit hallway because no one had tried to understand that? Jessica didn't like her mother, so she had no instinct to give her mother words of kindness just because she looked a little frail. Therefore, in order to give those words regardless, she had to clench both of her fists and wrench the words out from the depths of her heart.
ずいぶん立て込んだ話をしてるようじゃん。
お前には関係あります。よそへ行っていなさい。
頭痛ひどい？私、薬もらってこようか。
構わないで結構です。お願いだから一人きりにして。
Natsuhi was not being cold to her. She just wanted to get her daughter far away from her, so that she could avoid subjecting her to her short temper. But there was no chance that her attentions would reach Jessica. Jessica hung her head, looking sad. Looking at that expression, Natsuhi realized that Jessica was trying to muster up the strength to be kind to her mother. She gave her head a small shake to drive away her own unkind feelings.
じゃあ私、行くよ。大人の邪魔にならないように、いとこたちと一緒にいるから。じゃあ。
お待ちなさい。
She called Jessica, about to make her desolate exit, to a stop.
何？
気遣いをありがとう。お前を残して寝込むわけにはいきません。
よせよ。縁起でもないぜ。
I don't think is she slightly thinking like Rudolph right now and that she might die later? No, I don't think she's trying to think like, maybe she might say what Rudolph said to Battler. I don't know.
心配をかけました。
Okay, you are, signaling some death flags though, Natsuhi.
もう大丈夫です。私は行きます。
Staying here for any longer with such a feeble expression would actually make her daughter feel more uncomfortable. Thinking this, Natsuhi left Jessica with words of gratitude and made to depart. This time, it was Jessica who called out to her mother's back. Natsuhi stopped, turned around, and asked what she wanted. But Jessica herself didn't know why she had stopped her mother. And for a while, she muttered to herself with a slightly forced smile as she hesitated over what to say. She was poking around in her pocket when her hand touched something, and she took it out.
あのさ、母さん。私さ、今日お守りもらったんだよ。なんだっけな、魔除けだったっけ。確かそのドアノブにぶら下げてるといいんだっけ。
No, wait! Jessica's gonna cancel Natsuhi's death flags by giving her the charm! And intentionally, I think she's getting rid of the death flags that Natsuhi might have triggered. But would this get Jessica killed in the end because she gave the charm to Natsuhi?
忘れちまったぜ。私が持ってても仕方ないし、母さんにあげるよ。
It was the scorpion charm that Maria had given her by the beach that day. Although she had heard of its various effects from Maria, right now, Jessica's mind was blank, and it was all she could do to say even that much. Thinking that her mother probably wouldn't accept the charm anyway, Jessica had immediately drawn back to the hand offering it to her. So, when Natsuhi came back and took hold of that hand, she was extremely surprised.
これは何かの景品？
Oh my god.
まあその、私も多分そうだろうと思ってるけどよ。こんなおもちゃみたいなお守りじゃご利益は期待できねえよな。
But her mother took the scorpion charm from her grip, and thus killing her daughter indirectly in the future.
ありがとう。大切にします。ジェシカには今度、私が子供の頃大切にしていたお守りを代わりにあげましょう。
Well, you might need to give her that charm pretty soon because Jessica has no protection.
別にそんなつもりで渡すんじゃないぜ。でもまあどうしてもって言うなら。
では私はもう休みます。頭痛がひどいので、ジェシカもあまり夜更かしをしすぎないように。
Natsuhi put the charm in her pocket and turned away. She then disappeared into the dark hall. class break? No.
やっぱり明日も丸一日こんな天気みたいだね。
やれやれ、今日の日中が嘘のようだぜ。
George and Nikki and I were killing time in front of the parlor television. At that point, Jessica returned. Her face was still blank, but it looked like she had calmed down a little since she had left.
マリアはまだ肖像画前？
いや、さっき戻ってきて、今はそっちのソファーで寝てるぜ。マリアにはもう遅い時間だもんな。
Looking at the clock, it was a little past 10 p.m. 22 o'clock. Even if we were going to stay up all night, it was about time to head back to our room.
一応うちのお袋が屋敷にも部屋を用意してくれたんだけどよ。どうする？
僕はゲストハウスに戻りたいかな。親たちの様子を見る限り、僕たちはお屋敷にいない方がいいと思う。
俺も同感だぜ。子供は邪魔せず引っ込んでろって感じみてえだからな。おとなしくそうするさ。
After we discussed that, Auntie Rosa came into the parlor. She was looking all over restlessly, probably trying to find Maria.
ローザおばさん、マリアならそこのソファーっすよ。
ありがとう。すっかり眠っちゃってるわね。ベッドに移さないと。
よかったら僕がベッドまで背負っていきましょうか。
ありがとう。助かるわ。ジョージ君たちはゲストハウスに戻るの？それとも夏日姉さんが用意してくれた部屋に泊まるのかしら？
今話し合ってました。ゲストハウスへ戻ろうかって話になったところです。
そうならマリアも一緒にしてあげてもいいかしら。
That was the plan already.
いとこのみんなと一緒の方がきっと安心できると思うしね。
It seemed that, in the shadow behind those words, there was some regret that the adults, herself included, had deeply hurt Maria's feelings.
任してくださいよおばさん。何しろこっちにゃマリアをあやすことに関してはエキスパートがいるっすからね。
You mean George?
それは僕のことかい？僕だけじゃ無理だよ。みんなでだよ。
そうだぜ。バトラだってあんなにもマリアと意気投合してふざけ合ってたじゃねえかよ。
As we said this, Auntie Rosa smiled, looking truly happy.
みんなありがとう。私たちの話し合いはだいぶ遅くまでかかりそう。だから申し訳ないけどマリアをみんなにお願いするわ。
おーいマリア、熟睡か？ゲストハウスに戻るぞ。
Maria muttered something indistinct as if answering, but then rolled over and fell back asleep. It looked like she was sleeping deeply.
すっかり寝込んじゃったようだぜ。起こすのは悪いな。
僕が背負うよ。
Maybe it's because the glasses are fogged up. That's kind of scary. Okay, I feel a little bit more comfortable that I can barely see, the outline of George's eyes. Actually, no, that makes it slightly worse. God, why? Okay, this is not intended to be a scary sprite, but this sprite is kind of scary because of the way his head's turned. Like, it's kind of like this. Hi, hello there, everyone. How you all doing? Like, who bends their head like that? That is terrifying. Maria's body was much lighter than it looked. George Aniki picked her up and pulled her over his back. It was raining hard outside, and Aniki couldn't hold an umbrella and carry Maria at the same time. It looks like Auntie Rosa would come with us as far as the guest house to help out. However, when she heard Uncle Klaus's voice call out to her, she had no choice but to return.
困ったわね。もう戻らないと。
あ、皆さんゲストハウスまでお戻りですか？
After we left the hall on the way back to the entrance, the door to the servant room opened, and Shannon stepped out.
だいぶ暗くなっておりますので、私がご案内させていただきます。
ちょうどよかったわ、シャノンちゃん。ジョージ君がマリアをおぶっていってくれるの。傘をさしてあげてくれないかしら。
はい、かしこまりました。
Shannon brought umbrellas for each of us and a flashlight to guide the way. As we opened the front door, the downpour was quite terrific. It looks like we wouldn't have any spare time to take a pleasant walk and enjoy the nighttime rose garden.
兄貴、重くねえか？俺が背負うぜ。
大丈夫だよ。マリアちゃんくらい背負えるよ。
本当にありがとうね。マリアをよろしくお願い。
うん、わかりました。じゃあ、おやすみなさい、おばさん。
We might meet again, no.
それでは、お送りしてまいります。
ええ、よろしく。
Auntie Rosa saw us off.
マリア、いつもごめんね。
Alright, so far, I'm taking bets that Rosa and Rudolf are fucked. Rosa's mumbling voice didn't reach the person in question, nor anyone else, but disappeared beneath the sound of the rain. After cutting through the rainy rose garden, we arrived at the guest house.
俺がマリアを背負って立候補すりゃよかったぜ。そうすりゃ傘をさしてくれるシャノンちゃんのでっけえお胸を二の腕でたっぷり堪能できたってのによ。
そんなつもりじゃないよ。誤解だよ。
そうしないとジョージ様が濡れてしまうと思いまして。
Aww.
ほーら、バカなこと言ってないで入るぜ。
After being nudged by Jessica, Shannon folded up her umbrella and went into the guest house.
お召し物を濡らしてしまった方はいらっしゃいませんか？タオルを用意いたしますが。
そこまで気を使わなくていいぜ。ありがとうよ、シャノンちゃん。
そうだ。僕たちはこれからトランプでもして少し遊ばないかって話なんだけど、よかったら少し一緒しないかい？
あれ？今日のシフト、深夜勤は誰になってんだ？親族会議中は特別シフトになってたと思いました。少し変更も出てるみたいなので、ちょっと確認してきます。
ああ、わざわざ屋敷に戻らないとわからないんなら無理に。
大丈夫です。ゲストハウスの使用人室でわかりますので。ちょっと失礼しますね。
Shannon-chan gave a quick bow and went into the guest house servant room. The rest of us headed for the cousin's room and put Maria in the bed for the time being. Maria was sleeping very deeply, and there was absolutely no sign of her eyes opening. We got some drinks out of the room's refrigerator and spent some time playing cards while drinking.
Kanon-kun? Genji 様までこちらに。今夜のシフトはどうなっているのでしょうか。
クラウス様の命令があってね、シフトの大掛かりな変更があったんだよ。
ゴーダがお屋敷の深夜勤に変更になった。シャノンとカノンはゲストハウスの深夜勤、私と熊沢はゲストハウスに泊まるようにとのご命令だ。お前も今夜はこのままこちらにとどまるよう、たった今電話があった。
Wait, hold on. Why only Goda? Why is Goda the only servant in the main house? Krauss? Krauss, are you plotting something with Goda? You're plotting something with Goda, aren't ya? That's why... Because why would the head servant, Genji, be sent away? It's obvious that he's trying to do something. He's trying to pull something. Well, let's wait a second. What is if Kinzo wants Genji for something? Krauss, you're up to something.
ずいぶん大掛かりな変更ですね。お屋敷とゲストハウスの当番がまるっきり逆になってるじゃないですか。
Originally, Shannon and Cannon had been given the night shift in the mansion, while the night shift in the guest house, where all the relatives were staying, had been assigned to Goda, who had an abundance of experience in entertaining. Kumasawa had been scheduled to stay in the guest house, while Genji had been scheduled to stay in the mansion. However, it seemed that Krauss had suddenly ordered that the schedule be modified. The shifts at the guest house and the mansion had been all reserved, and Genji was spending the night in the guest house.
多分ベアトリーチ様の手紙のせいだろうね。
多分ってどうして？
あんな怪しげな手紙が現れたらクラウス様が僕たちを疑うのは当然だからね。親方様直属の僕たちを極力親族会議の席から遠ざけたかったんだろうよ。
Yeah, that's also pretty true. Krauss is freaking out right now. Though, it's kind of suspicious that Goda's the only one that he is like, yeah, you're fine. Maybe Kinzo doesn't like Goda as much. Genji, Shannon, and Cannon were all permitted to wear the Ushiromiya family crest, the one-winged eagle. The one-winged eagle has the servants who serve directly under Kinzo. Of course, since they were working for the Ushiromiya family, they had to obey anyone's orders. But their only boss was Kinzo. Since only Kinzo held the right to employ them, even Krauss could not have them dismissed of his own accord. Because of this, they were often viewed by Krauss and others as Kinzo's underlings and shunned. In reality, Kinzo would seldom let anyone other than them enter the study. You could probably call this sudden shift change a clear expression of that sense of distrust. Considering the time Kinzo had left to live, this would definitely be the last family conference before the problem of the inheritance would come up. Wow, I'm sorry. This would definitely be the last family conference before the problem of the inheritance would come up. On top of that, the mysterious letter that claimed to be from Beatrice had dropped in out of the blue. Krauss definitely wanted to keep Kinzo's loyal subjects away from the table of such a delicate and important discussion.
ではすまんが、私は向こうでくつろがせてもらう。もし何かあったらすぐに呼ぶように。今夜のお客様は特別だ。
はい、かしこまりました。源氏様。
Genji nodded back, went behind a screen, took off his jacket, and slowly began to relax after a day's worth of tension.
今お戻りになられたのはお子様方。
親族の方々はお屋敷で会議を。だいぶ長引きそうな雰囲気だったかな。
なら気楽だね。これ以上の深夜になって、しかもこの天気。多分親族の皆さんはお屋敷の方のお部屋にお泊まりさ。
多分ね。源氏様がいないから言うけど、ゲストハウス行きになってちょっと嬉しかったかな。
どうしてだい？意地悪な奥様やエヴァ様から離れられたから？それとも別の理由があるのかい？
別の理由なんかありません。
She wants to have fun with the kids.
そっか。なら二人で深夜勤を頑張ろう。よろしく、姉さん。
私ついさっきお子様方にお部屋で遊ばないかとお呼ばれしてて。
Shannon hung her head apologetically and made uncertain glances towards Cannon's eyes. Cannon didn't try to meet her gaze, and spoke curtly as he sighed. It looked like he didn't plan on indulging his sister.
ダメだよ。深夜勤を仰せつかってる。それに僕たち家具には遊びのお誘いは必要ない。わかるね。
そんなこと分かってます。
Shannon dropped her shoulders slightly. She had already expected that Cannon, who considered rules to be very important, would probably say something like that, but even so, she was a little discouraged. As Cannon turned the pages of a logbook, he spoke without facing Shannon.
ならお子様方お待たせしてしまってるね。深夜勤に当たってしまったからご一緒できないと謝ってこなきゃ。行ってきなよ。
That's really cold.
私謝ってくるね。
Shannon hurriedly stood from her seat before her brother's mood could change, gave a quick bow, and flew out of the servant room. As he watched her disappear, Cannon took a single deep breath. Genji's voice came from beyond the screen.
カノン、私がここにいるからお前も行くといい。
源氏様、誘われたのはシャノンだけです。僕は別に誘われては。
その場にいなかったからお声をかけられなかっただけだ。言えばお前も誘われている。
Oh, is Genji gonna take over their shifts then?
たまには子供らしく遊んでくるといい。
いえ、僕には必要ない行為です。人の子には遊びも必要でしょうが、僕らは家具ですから。
そうか。
姉さんだって家具です。人のふりをしたって後で苦しむだけなのに、僕はそれが分かっているから 人に近づきたくないだけなんです。
Genji did not say anything after that. A few moments passed, and then he stood up. He used a pot of hot water to make some hot chocolate from powder, and served it to Cannon as well.
そりゃ本当かよ。そりゃ知らなかったぜ。
バカ、声が大きいぜ。マリアが起きちゃうだろ。
Badler was so surprised that he yelled obnoxiously and scattered his cars everywhere. His voice caused Maria to turn over once, but she soon fell back into a deep sleep. Jessica gave him a jab, and he lowered his voice.
いや、しかし言われてみれば確かにそれっぽい雰囲気はあったんだよな。はあ、なるほどな。ジョージの兄貴がな。
George could not be seen anywhere in the room. A short while ago, when Shannon had come into the room, George had suddenly said that he had forgotten something in the mansion and needed to go back and get it. Shannon had said she would guide him, just like she had on the way to the guest house, and the two of them had departed together. Did George forget something? Did George forget something?
いや、昔からそれっぽい気配はあったんだぜ。
I kind of called it.
好きなものを聞いてきたり、趣味を聞いてきたりさ。単に関心を持つだけにしてはどうもなんて思ってたらよ。
そういや、昔っからジョージの兄貴はシャノンちゃんにやたらと優しかった気がするぜ。なるほどな。
天気予報によると今夜が一番ひどいみたい。明日いっぱいも止まないらしいけど、もう少しマシになるそうだよ。
そうですか。では明後日までは船は来られないかもしれませんね。ジョージ様の月曜日のお勤めに差し支えが出ないか心配です。
台風が来ていることは知っていたからね。万一に備えて月曜日には予定を入れなかったから大丈夫さ。こう見えてもスケジュールは先読みできるタイプなんだ。
Yeah, you definitely don't look like that kind of person, George. You definitely don't. George puffed out his chest, acting proud. Compared to the normally composed appearance that George always had as the oldest cousin, he now looked amusingly like a little kid. Shannon chuckled at this gap.
さすが、やがては会社を起こされる方はしっかりしていますね。
Praise.
やっぱり会社を起こすというのは大変だね。お金とかそういうのだけじゃないものがとても大事だって父さんのところで勉強していてわかるよ。会社を起こすということは城を持ち部下を率いるということ。うちの父さんは秀吉って名前だけあって戦国武将のエピソードがとても好きでね。
Sengoku, Warring States.
会社経営の哲学をよくそこから語るんだ。知ってるかい？戦国最強の騎馬軍団と恐れられた武田信玄も最初は部下たちの結束がバラバラで統率力をまるで発揮できなかったんだそうだよ。
そうなんですか？ か意外ですね。
信玄は部下たちを結束させるため数々のリーダーシップを発揮してるんだよ。例えば戦場で武功を立てた部下に対しすぐその場で報奨を与えたり、普通こういうのは戦が終わってからまとめてやるものだからね。それを戦場の本陣の中にいながらまめにやり続け、部下の武功を素早く評価しやる気につなげたというのは非常に大きいことだよ。それから部下が病気で伏せった時には誰よりも早く駆けつけお見舞いをしたとかね。武田信玄は戦国最強の騎馬軍団を率いただけじゃない、戦国一の部下思いの人だったんだよ。
そんな方だから部下の皆さんもついてきてくれたんですね。
The truth was, Shannon had already heard this story several years ago. But when George started to tie his father in with one of these stories, he would always be beaming, looking like he was having a great time. So Shannon did not interrupt, but merely smiled to encourage him to continue.
確かに資本主義の世界ではお金は力で石垣の高さでもある。でもね、戦も城も自分一人じゃ成り立たない。大勢の部下に支えられ、その力を借りて初めて成立するものなんだよ。それを理解してから父さんの背中を見ると、自分がいかに未熟で、父さんがどれほどの切磋琢磨をして今日を築き上げてきたかがよくわかるんだ。
ジョージ様はお父様のことをとても尊敬されているんですね。羨ましいです。
I never had a dad.
ごめん、別にそういう意味で言ったんじゃないんだよ。
すみません、私も別にそういう意味で言ったつもりは。
The two of them awkwardly looked at their feet. Shannon had no parents. And I didn't have a mom either. I shouldn't be laughing. I should not have been laughing. I'm sorry. She had been brought up in a welfare institute, owned by Kinzo called the Gospel House. Under the guidance of the honorary director, Kinzo, the Gospel House offered excellent students a chance to live a life of service. If they were accepted, they would be able to leave the institute and work as servants for the Ushiromiya family. This was considered to be the highest honor for a student. Servants from the Gospel, Fukuin, House, all took names with a character in, on, non, in them while they served. So, Shannon wasn't her real name. The same goes for Canon. All of the students of the Gospel House were orphans. Or, failing that, people who had been disowned by their parents through some special circumstances. Because of this, the students had been taught to think of each other as their only family. That's why it seems so natural to Canon to call Shannon his sister. And while only Shannon and Canon were working today in the mansion, there were other servants who worked in the shift rotation named Manon and Renan, who also inherited the on character in their names. I think I'm correct by that's the on character. Like I need to check the backlog. All right. Yes, in, on, non. Yes. Okay. So they all have the non on. I could technically call it the non character, though it could also be the on character or the in character. I'm gonna say it's the non because Shannon, Canon, Mannon, Renan, all has none. However, there were not many servants who stayed with the Ushiromiya family for long. It was standard for them to quit after 3 years. So, you could probably say that Shannon, who had been working for over 10 years, was a very rare exception to the rule. Working as a servant for the Ushiromiya family was a heavy burden to bear, but the pay wasn't bad at all. Working for a full 3 years would earn more than what was needed to enter mainstream society. That was why, even though the students realized what a harsh task working for the Ushiromiya family was, they still hoped to be accepted. But in Shannon's case, maybe the fact that she had managed to continue for more than 10 years should not be viewed as her having more willpower than any of the other servants. Maybe it was a lack of courage to say that she wanted to quit that forced her to continue working for those 10 years. To Kinzo, who could not even trust his own blood relatives, those excellent servants sent from the gospel house were the only ones he could trust. Because of that, Kinzo would sometimes allow them to wear the family crest as servants under his direct control, and have them work close to him.
もう勤めて10年近くになるんだっけ。だいぶお金も貯まったんじゃないかい。
どうでしょう。別に私買いたいものも特にありませんし、ほんの何百万かあったってそれで残りの人生を過ごせるわけもありませんし。
目標の額があってお勤めを続けてるわけじゃないのかい。
そうですね。私はこのお屋敷以外に行くあてもありませんし。
For some reason, I feel like this is leading to a marriage proposal for some reason.
お嬢様とも他の使用人の子たちとも仲良くやれてますし、奥様には時折お叱りを受けますけど、バラの世話やお屋敷のお掃除も楽しいですし。
でもそれはシャノンちゃんのサヨちゃんの人生じゃない。
Sorry, I miss her at all. Alright, that deserves a slap since I missed a line from Shannon. Shannon cast her eyes downwards when she heard her real name. She understood what George was trying to say and closed her mouth.
僕は成人し社会人になってからも勉強して分かったことがある。子供の頃僕らが思っていたほど人生は単調で短くないんだ。
That horrifying thought that everyone has in their student years. Will the rest of my life be like a monotonous, boring, sleep-inducing after-school class? Where I endlessly, lazily while away the time until finally it ends? Without anything interesting ever happening? However, these thoughts only arise while a person is still an underage student. Compared to a human's life, the time they spend as a student is nothing more than a blink of the eye. Just a period before they break out of their shells and cast off their immaturity. The inside of the shell might be a hot, suffocating and boring world. But the world beyond that shell is vast and filled with limitless possibilities.
君の人生はまだシャノンという殻の中でしかないんだ。君は自分の人生がこの生活のままずっと続いていくと勘違いしてるんじゃないかな。
それは。
Shannon couldn't deny those words. She hadn't been able to find any concrete issues with her way of life. And since she never had any desire or goal to change herself in any particular way, she had continued her life idly. And if she were asked whether her life was already fulfilled, she wouldn't necessarily have been able to nod. That may have been a truth that she was deliberately averting her eyes from. As long as George did not realize that truth, she would have continued pretending not to notice, as her real life slipped away, neglected, bit by bit.
ジョージ様、私はこのままでいてはいけないのでしょうか。
いけないよ。あ、それから今ルール違反が一つあったね。
George immediately gave a strict answer, then broke out into a mischievous smile. Shannon already knew what she was being chided for, and it seemed that it embarrassed her as she hung her head.
僕たちしかいないときは様はなしの約束だよ。
約束では聞けません。ですが、ご命令でしたら聞かないわけにはいきません。私は家具ですから。
じゃあ命令だよ。
はい。かしこまりました、ジョージさん。
As Shannon hung her head, her face turned red. She said George's name again, this time using son.
それでいいよ、さやちゃん。
A smile rose to George's face, praising Sayo's small act of bravery. The way they talked with each other gave off the sense that their relationship had already been ongoing for some time. For a long while, as if the weather raging around them didn't even enter their consciousness. The two of them talked about the many memories they built during their relationship that no one else knew about. Every once in a while, a flash of lightning would attempt to dampen the mood, but it could not sully these moments, which seemed to flush even the roses outside a deeper shade of red.
So, そうだ。君に見せたいものがあって。
It's gonna be a ring. It's gonna be a fucking ring.
何でしょうか。
George, who had been speaking eloquently, suddenly started to stutter. From his manner, Shannon too understood something. George timidly searched through his pocket for it. It got caught deep in his pocket somehow, and came out somewhat slowly and awkwardly in the same manner as his speech. Pass. It was a very small box. A small box, covered in deep blue velvet. Its characteristic shape was enough to make anyone realize what was resting inside. Shannon had been preparing her heart a while, sure of what it must be. But even so, when she actually saw it, she couldn't avoid blushing once more. George opened the small box, took it out, and held it out for Shannon to take.
これを君に受け取ってほしいんだ。
このような高価なものはお受け取りできません。
受け取れない。
いえ、こんなもの私には過ぎていて。
さよ、これはお願いじゃない。命令だよ。この指輪を受け取ってね。
Shannon, not wanting to show her bright red face, timidly accepted the ring from George's hand while still staring at the ground. That ring wasn't a simple accessory. It was a noble request, which since ancient times was meant to be offered to a special woman with a special meaning. So, while George could order her to take it, he could not order anything beyond that. Anything beyond that would depend, not on an order, but on Shannon's, no, Sayo's own will. Sayo's own will.
だからここからはもう命令じゃない。さよ、明日までに言葉でない形で返事がもらいたい。わかるね。
どうすれば。
もうこれ以上は命令じゃないから僕は君に命令はしない。でも指輪は指にするものだからね。気に入ってくれたなら好きな指につけてくれればいい。
Shannon had only pretended not to know. She had already understood what he wanted her to do. But she was standing at a huge crossroads of her life.
もうこんな時間だね。今夜はこれくらいにしよう。
George faced away from Shannon, seeming slightly uncomfortable.
君に左手につけてほしいと命令することもできるかもしれない。君も命令されればそれに従えるという臆病な甘えがあるかもしれない。でも最後のここだけは君のさよの意志でしてもらいたいんだ。わかるね。
はい。
だからそれが命令。今夜よく考えて明日その返事を見せてほしい。
Shannon nodded back. Today was the culmination of their long relationship. This moment had not come as any surprise to Shannon.
そろそろゲストハウスに戻ろうか。これ以上遅いとみんなを心配させちゃうよ。
すみません。私、そのお屋敷に用を思い出しまして、そのお屋敷へ行かねばなりません。
こんな時間に本当かな。
George stared into Shannon's face as he laughed mischievously. He had seen through that obvious lie of Shannon's. But, imagining how she felt, it wasn't as if he couldn't understand her embarrassment and why she might ask to be alone. And so George, having understood Shannon's lie and all that was behind it, allowed her to leave. This is where the last break happens. God, that was such a nice scene. Yeah, knew the glass was coming. Umineko no Nakukora ni. Oh my god. 11 o'clock. Alright. Hope. Alright, so we're gonna have to save this for next time. God, that scene made me smile like a moron. I really smiled like a moron during that scene. I am not sorry, while at the same time a little bit sorry. Alright, before I actually read the tips, is there anything on the Grimoire? No. Nothing has been added to the Grimoire. Alright, now it's time to end this episode off with the reading of the epitaph and the letter. Here we go. Behold the Sweetfish River. running through my beloved home of old. You who seek the Golden Land, follow its path downstream in search of the key. As you travel down it, you will see a village. In that village, look for the shore that you speak of. There, the key to the Golden Land sleeps. You who laid hand upon the key must journey as follows to the Golden Land. On the first twilight, sacrifice the 6 chosen by the key. On the second twilight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. On the third twilight, those who remain shall praise my noble name. On the fourth twilight, gouge the head and kill. On the fifth twilight, gouge the chest and kill. On the sixth twilight, gouge the stomach and kill. On the seventh twilight, gouge the knee and kill. On the eighth twilight, gouge the leg and kill. On the ninth twilight, the witch revives, and none shall be left alive. On the 10th twilight, the journey ends, and you shall reach the home of the gold. The witch shall praise the wise, and bestow 4 treasures. 1 shall be all the Golden Land's gold. 1 resurrects all the dead people's souls. 1 even revives all the love they possessed. And 1 for the wish to eternally rest. Rest in peace, my beloved witch, Beatrice. And now, it's time for the letter. Welcome to Rokenjima, ladies and gentlemen of the Ushiromiya family. I am Beatrice, the alchemist for this family. Under the employ of Kenzo-sama, I have served him for many years in accordance with our contract. But today, Kenzo-sama has announced the termination of that contract. Therefore, I ask that you acknowledge my resignation from the position of family alchemist as of today. And now, there is one part of the contract that I must explain to you all. I, Beatrice, lent Kenzo-sama a vast quantity of gold under certain terms. One of these terms specifies that all of the gold is to be returned to me upon the termination of the contract. Furthermore, I am to receive everything of the Ushiromiya family as interest. After hearing this, you may feel as though Kenzo-sama has been savagely ruthless. However, Kenzo-sama did append the special clause to the contract so that you would have a chance to preserve your wealth and honor. If, and only if, that special clause is fulfilled, I will lose my rights to the gold and the interest for all eternity. Special clause. Beatrice has the right to collect the gold and accumulated interest upon the termination of the contract. However, if someone is able to discover the hidden gold of this contract, Beatrice must abandon these rights for all time. The collection of the interest will proceed shortly, but if any one of you fulfills the terms of this special clause, I shall return everything, including the portion that has already been collected. Furthermore, as the first step in this collection of Kenzo-sama's death, I have taken possession of the Ushiromiya family head's ring, which signifies the passage of the Ushiromiya family headship from one individual to another. I ask that you confirm this for yourselves by examining the imprint on the wax seal. Kenzo-sama has already displayed the location of the hidden gold within the epitaph under my portrait. The rules apply equally to all who can read the epitaph. If you discover the gold, I shall return everything to you. Tonight, I ask that you enjoy your battle of wits with Kenzo-sama to the fullest. I sincerely pray that this night will be both intellectual and elegant. And with that, I'm ending this episode off right here, right now. I'm actually getting more and more confident in memorizing the epitaph. I swear, sooner or later, if I could recognize, if I could read this entire epitaph from muscle memory, I'll be really proud of myself.
Okay.